Shalom, shalom. Kol halalim la Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, elder bishops of Great Millstone, and shalom to the prophets of that body, and shalom to the 144,001 third. May peace and blessings be upon your households. Excuse me. Shalom Barakah, by the way. Saturday morning, the 21st of June. Literally, where are we going? Just over a week left. We are in July. And 1 week, 6 days from now, July the 4th. Let's see what happens. And July the 4th, by the way, is on a Friday. Esau likes to do something on a Friday, right? Over the weekend period. Just to do a little tester. Because they don't want everything to go too buck wild during a weekday. You know, children are out and about, children going to school. Even though we're approaching summer, I guess the summer holidays haven't occurred yet. Well, in the UK, they haven't anyway. Right? And people are, they don't want to do too much during the weekday because people will be going to and from work. And, they want to do little testers before they really do the real thing. But you never know, they might do the real deal, whatever they're going to do. Right? One of the main things they're going to do is it's going to be the collapse of society, the financial crash, right? Because they want to bring it in that MO to the T to the B, all right? The mark of the the BEAST, Revelation 13:16, all right? And that's going to lead to Jacob's trouble, all right? An array of different things are going to be happening at the same time. Financial crash, race riots, Jacob's trouble, World War III. It's gonna be crazy out here. But so far, what I've been noticing, from our apostles on down, obviously we get our, they are a spiritual, shall I say, spiritual news. Well, they're the watchers, right? They're the watchers. They're the men of the Lord, right? So in the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, they keep watch, and they let us know, and from there we do our own digging. And sometimes we find out on our own accord as well, because as our apostles always say, don't believe us, check it out for yourself, right? And by the way, I'm just, by the way, I'm not the only one in the world, that watches the apostles and elders. There's a lot of Israelite foreigners and there's a lot of heathens watching too, right? And now, as we're approaching World War III, which is going to happen, all right? Because this is what the heathens like to do. They like to let you know, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, sometimes just passing by, like a little breeze. They like to let you know. They want to test the waters to see, is it going over people's heads, or are they getting this information? It's like part of their left-hand side religion, the satanic shit, right? They got to let you know in any shape or form so they don't hold themselves guilty, okay? Hegelian dialectic, pressure from above, pressure from below. They control the scenario. Why do they control the scenario? They want to control it so they can, as they say, not shimmy, so they can push their specific agenda, so they can, if they want to move a certain piece, right? They want to move that piece, according, they want to move their energy into a certain direction. And to move that energy into a certain direction, they've got to put certain pieces into place. Problem, reaction, solution. Right? Now, World War III is going to happen. There ain't going to be no World War IV. This is going to be so severe, World War III is going to be. They say if there is a World War IV, which obviously there ain't going to be, right? If, let's just say hypothetically, if there is a World War IV, it'll be fought with sticks and stones, because there ain't none going to be left. Right, 200 million warheads hitting America and other parts of the world as well. All right, and then you've got the elites hanging out in neutral bunkers, in neutral zones. All right, let's go to Revelation 11:14. The second woe was past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. All right. All right, the First World War was from 1914 to 1918. Yeah, and Second World War was from 1938 or 1939 to 1945. Now the ones that's going to happen now is around the corner. Okay, since I quoted said World War One, let's get that scripture out as well. So I'm not just saying it. I'm going to type in woe one. That's usually, and obviously, as you can see here, woe means great sorrow or distress. War is just new speak. Okay, because when people are fighting, clashing, and people are dying, that is great sorrow and distress, isn't it? Woe one. Revelation 9 and 12. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. All right? Hey, man, the Bible is very much alive, man. All right? The Lord ain't playing. And what did Yahweh Shai say? I'm not a man, the Lord is not a man that he should lie. Let's go to that one. The Lord is not a man that he should lie. King James Version. If you could hear the fan in the background, slightly hot, it's hot in the UK. Summer's starting to kick in. Numbers 23 and 19. So with the fan going on in the background. The Most High is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? All right? All right, so the Lord, Yahweh Shemashai is not lying, man. Everything he's saying is coming to pass. All right? The bad and the good. And the gospel is the good news for the Israelites. The Lord is returning. All right? And the elect are going to get their new bodies. Man, we're going to be with the Lord forever. If it's in your lot to be beamed up into the chariot first trip, right? But nevertheless, right? If you're striving and trying, all right, and you are still an Israelite, hey, look at it this way, all right? It's a barakim to be an Israelite, man. All right, whether you're the main elect or part of the 1/3, right? And let's just say hypothetically for you Jakes out there that are scoffers, even if you don't make it, all right. One thing that you dumbos have is the fact that you are an Israelite, so you will come back through the elect loins. Sorry, the loins of the elect men, the Israelite men, the 144,000. All right, all these things are gonna come, man. Come on, man. All these beautiful things we're gonna have in the kingdom, man. The kingdom, we're gonna be with the Lord forever. We're gonna, man. Come on, So this light affliction is just put for a moment, man. The Lord ain't playing. The Lord ain't lying, man. Look at that. He made a scumbag Edomite, a fucking worm. Actually, you know what? He's lower than a worm. Maggot. He's actually a maggot has more value than a cracker, right? Because the Edomites don't do nothing good for the planet in any shape or form. All right? It's only the 2/3 ninjas that say that shit. Esau don't do nothing good. All right? All right? It's only the house ninjas, that have an affinity for the damn devil. All right? The Lord can make a scumbag Edomite like that, a ruler of the planet. All right? How much more? And give Esau a short-term blessing of feeling like he is somebody. The Lord made a scumbag Edomite man feel like he's a king of the earth. He made the Edomite feel like, yeah, God looks like me, or the Son of God looks like me. All the famous people around the world, Mozart, William Shakespeare, Robin Hood, the Knights of the Round Table, the Knights, the samurais. Shit, he made everybody, the native Indians, he made everybody look like him. Last the Mohicans and all that. Esau want to be everybody but his caveman self. But now the truth is coming out. These people, these crackers, are on the side of the road with signs saying, please help me. And I've been seeing that. And even their own kind are driving past them. And I live in London. It's a very, this changed a hell of a lot since the 80s. You know, now the only Edomites you see around here, very rarely you find out English Edomites, mainly Polish and Russians and shit, right? But London is pretty much brown. But when you see these crackers on the street, homeless, a bunch of them on dope, you know, what does that remind me? Rewind 40 years ago into all the brown hoods and Jake hoods around the world, especially America and the UK. I mean, around the world too, right? Who was on the crack? You watch that movie, American Gangster, you know? Who was on the heroin? Hmm? You see all them brown faces, the froze. You see our people, right? Now who you see now on the dope, on his fentanyl, on his people begging for help. Just say no to drugs, Esau. Just say no, be strong. Have some willpower, Esau. Hmm? So F you and your pain, man. So the Lord is doing it, man. The Lord is making it happen. All right? You know? Sorry I went in a bit of a tangent there, you know? You get so excited and elated, man. You get so excited, man, seeing this fucking place fall. You know, and each day we get closer, and as, you know, the brothers from the GMS Bay Area, and obviously other camps would say, one more day closer to the kingdom. And indeed, one more day closer to the kingdom, man. Numbers 23 and 19 again. The Most High, Yahweh Bahashem Yashai, is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Okay, and that's all the bad, right? We got our asses handed to us, didn't we? And rightfully so. Rightfully so. And then, what did Yahweh Shemashai say? What about the blessings too? Okay? Okay? I'm going to read the last bit again. And shall he not do it? That's even the good that's coming. The gospel, man. The gospel is the good news for the Israelites. All right? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Our time is coming, man. Our time is coming. Do you realize this is the last time we have to go through, well, for the elect anyway. Well, yeah, you know what I mean. The last time, yeah, this is the last time we got to go into, I mean, this is our last captivity. That's what I'm trying to say. Salakia. I'm getting up in age, man. You know, this is our last captivity. You know, no more heathens ruling over us, bruv. Just think about it. Yeah, no more punching in the damn clock. No more having damn near 4 or 5 coffees a day just to get yourself through the day because you feel so sluggish and shit. So only the Lord knows what he's pumping out there. You know, obviously, you know, a lot of the brothers do know. You know, all the barium oxide and all these other poisons and shit in the air. You know, man, we got a lot of good, but we have to get through that straight gate. All right. Now let's get to World War III. Right, that's what I initially touched on. All right, touch on the two scriptures, Revelation 9 and 12, World War I and World War II. Salakia, World War I, and in Revelation 11:14 says the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Right, and indeed it is. It's already started. Okay, it's just at the warm-up stage until it goes into full throttle. Right, and I've just pulled up some articles. Right, and where are we? Let's go to, okay, I've got a video as well. I think, not that one. I'm going to watch this video just right now as soon as I do mine. Brother Arya Chayal Bar. Subscribe to the Prophet, man. Excellent lessons in the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yashai. Where is that video I had, man? Where is it? Ah, here we are. There's so many pages up. Could the UK introduce conscription? Now, conscription means a draft. This is 2 months ago, by the way, so this is from 2025. You can see 58,000 views, 744 thumbs up. Hey, man, I thought you Edomites loved England. You know, like you chant at those soccer matches. Huh? Where are you skinheads at, man? Don't you want to save your country? And where are you honkies at, man? Don't you want to save your so-called country? Not that it's yours anyway. You think it is, but it's not you. Don't you want to fight for England? Let's go. let's go. I'll get a definition of conscription, because you know the UK uses them words that aren't commonly used by everyone. People just use more of the American terms, so-called American terms. Definition of conscription for the army. Conscription, compulsory enrollment for service in country's armed forces. All right. Is military conscription the same as military draft? Yes. There we go, AI overview. Yes, military conscription and the military draft are essentially the same thing. Both terms refer to the compulsory enrollment of individuals into a nation's armed forces, typically by law. In the United States, Babylon, the draft is the common colloquial term for conscription. All right? Colloquial term. All right? Definition of colloquial term. A colloquial term is a word or phrase used in informal conversation or writing, often specific to a particular region or group. It's characterized by its casual conversational style and is typically considered appropriate for everyday speech, but not necessarily for formal writing. So it's basically used by America, right? Because Americans, you know, if you look at it, they don't. American Edomites don't speak proper, correct English anyway. All right, it's the Israelites that taught these crackers how to speak English in the first place anyway, even though it's a bastard tongue. All right, why do you think these damn devils use James Earl Jones with his excellent, majestic voice and his deep, bassy, masculine Israelite tone to dictate the Holy Bible, man? All right. All right. And if you listen to James Earl Jones, he kind of sounds British, you know. So you can only imagine how Jakes, when they ruled England, how they spoke in that real majestic tone. And these crackers don't know how to talk, man. Now let's go here. All right. Now let's one more thing as well. The men of the ancient world were real men. Now the men of the 70s, if you look at Israelite men, right, they were masculine. You know, they all kept some kind of facial hair, be a handlebar mustache. They had big ass fros. They all pretty much did something. They either boxed or they lifted weights or they could just scrap naturally, because some Jakes have that natural warrior instinct and they can bob and weave, and you know, they could roll punches, they could kick high, you know, they could block, they could work on the floor, because it's naturally in them. A lot of them are Gadites, Judites, you know, Reubenites. It's in them spiritually. You know, they got that warrior instinct, and once they get trained up, if they want to train up, and they get even sharper. But for the most part, they all do something physically. You know, like these young Jakes today, man, they all got bird chests. They look like faggots, man. They got septum rings. They got pink, blue hair. They get long hair, dreads and shit. There was a Jake that was training in the gym. I saw a video a few months back. He got his, you know, his hair was being pulled and he was being battered by 3 Edomites in a gym. You know? And he was on the floor, man, like he was like in slavery, looking up, and this Edomite was just grabbed him by his dreads. You know, like you grab the reins of a horse, you're trying to control it. Esau was holding this Jake's dreads and he's pounding Jake's face, man. And I thought, man, if Jake don't come back from that, you know, you got to deal with that situation, boy. You know, you can't enter that gym again otherwise, trying to lift weights and after getting your ass handed to you like that. But nevertheless, you know, the Jakes today, you know, these 2/3, you know, they want to be gangster. They want to, you know, they want to gun down, you know, people. Hey, you're going to have your chance. You're going to have your chance to join the army, or they're going to pull you in anyway. And they're going to come for a lot of you Israelites because they want to eliminate you. They eliminate the Israelites. Esau can hopefully get his birthright back. Because the so-called white man wants his birthright back, right? It wasn't his anyway. It wasn't his anyway to begin with, all right? It was all spiritual, all right? Because Jacob is a supplanter, and Jacob's spirit had to be utilized in that manner. I mean, ultimately, it's all the Lord's Yahweh Shemeshai's story, all right? That's the way it had to be. Now, these devils think that, oh, it was taken away from us. It wasn't yours to begin with, cracker. I mean, just look at yourself in the mirror and your mannerisms and your pineal gland is fucking calcified, man. You don't have a spiritual bone in your body. Now, if you look at the world, what the hell have you done good for the world, man? And you think that you are going to be given the keys to the kingdom of heaven or rulership permanently? Get the fuck out of here, you fucking peckerwood. All right? It's not for you. Yeah? As Tony Montana would say. Eh, okay? To Manolo. Was it Manolo? She not for you. Yeah? The Lord is, Jake is saying to you crackers, man. Yeah? In the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yashai. Hey, this kingdom not for you. Huh? Right, let's get to the video. Oh, yeah, one more thing, man. You Jakes out there are soft. You boys, you men out there are soft. You're a bunch of faggots. You're a bunch of pussies. You don't want to fight. All right. And it's there was I think there's an article I got up here as well where 40% of the UK's population does not want to fight for England, man. All right. Let's go here. Let's read some of this before I play it. Make the politicians conscribe their children first. Basically, they're saying make the politicians draft their children first. Nobody will fight for modern Britain. You have treated the people like shit. Conscription draft is slavery. And people are saying, amen, my friend. UK, France, and Germany are in the same boat. If there's a vote on conscription, on draft or conscription, only those eligible for conscription should have a right to vote on whether it is reintroduced, and it will be reintroduced. It'll be 18 to 40, 3 years in prison for quickly deleted post, while murderers and rapists or grapists walk free. Who would fight for that? Yeah, nobody wants to fight for England, man. Nobody wants to fight for England. Tomatoes and eggs being chucked at the so-called King, Prince Charles, who became king. I mean, when his mother became queen, the bitch became queen in 1953, her coronation, it was televised around the world as 1952, 53, or 54. All right, early 50s anyway, right? 53, I think, her coronation, if you watch the video. Man, everybody was cheering, everybody was happy, yeah? But now, people are chucking eggs when Prince Charles became king. It's only the ninja woman that was bowing down and crying to Prince Charles when she saw him in person. If you see, I know you Jakes out there have seen the footage, She was crying when he visited some location or something, and all the Edomites were standing up and she was booing, Your Majesty. She was bowing down and crying. That's a, so-called black woman, right? Okay? And you got other foreign armies. You got the Russians, man. They all teach their children and sons, to scrap, to box, martial arts. And even if they don't teach their children to scrap or fight, they just learn, they teach their sons to have a fair one-to-one. If you get into a scrap or someone's bothering your little brother or someone's bothering you, they give their pointers to sons, jab, jab, reverse punch, kick, punch, whatever, how to get out of situations, headlocks and that, They learn the basics, and through trial and error, they get better. They all work out. These Russians are big motherfuckers. I've sparred with a couple of Polish dudes too, and they all box, And these Eastern Europeans are tough. They get you good, but I get them good back as well. With a couple of back kicks to the gut, a couple of shin, a couple of kicks to the lower half, fuck them up. They're tough, and they're all big as well, man. Like the average height amongst these Russians and Polish is at least 6'1", and they're all in great shape. Motherfuckers don't even lift weights, and their physique proportions are like, I think, man, some of these motherfuckers could be Jake. Well, actually, a lot of them are Jake. These Russians. That's the thing. They got the complexion for the protection, but a lot of them are Judites. That's why you see these fucking 7 feet tall Ivan Drago looking pale niggas, man. Pale ninjas. They're Jake. Some of them. Okay, not all. Some of them. But even the ones that are Edomites are still tough, because Esau is a man of war, right, to a certain degree. All right, the weaponry is his blessing, yeah. And then you got the Gooks, the Koreans, and the other nations, man, headbutting bricks and breaking them, all in shape, lifting weights, running, jumping through hoops, hand-to-hand combat training, learning their basics, man. Learning that they may not be all black belts, but they're consistently training and training and training. Okay. I mean, a lot of them aren't black belts, but they're all consistently training. They do their basic training, and they train and train and train to fight. All right? Because you got black belts out there in this world that get beaten up. You know, if you see these backyard brawl programs, you see that guy. If you know about Level Martinez, right, the Manassite from Florida, he was just a street brawler, but the brother is tough. All right, I call him a brother because he's a Jake, right? But he is tough. You know, knocking out martial artists that are black belts and shit. You know, he could naturally scrap. Then eventually go into MMA, but then he come out of it. He probably asked to do ritual. He probably thought, I ain't doing that no more. You know. All right. So you got a lot of people out there tough, right? And these other nations are tough, but in the UK, in America, Australia, everyone is, these heathen nations, these fucking these YNs. No matter what package they come in, they're all a bunch of faggots, man. All right, all a bunch of faggots, and they do not want to fight. Let's play the video. By the way, fair use, fair use, copyright 1976, fair use. All right, let's play. Let's go.
More money needs to be spent to modernise our armed forces. And I think there will always be questions about whether they're large enough, both in terms of the number of platforms the Navy and the Air Force have, but also the number of soldiers that the British Army have.
The future of NATO? Is there a scenario where NATO will have to learn to live without America?
He's probably an agent. Vitaly Shevchenko, Ukraine cast presenter. Edomite from Ukraine in the UK with a British accent.
Okay. I mean, I think President Trump was absolutely right to suggest that Europe needs to do more to defend itself. And I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And of course, as a military officer and having been the Chief of Defence Staff, I would entirely concur. You know, we need to invest in our own security. Of course we do. And I think that how does that play into NATO is a very interesting question. And of course, NATO has always been underpinned by the idea of Article 5. In other words, an attack on one member is an attack on the whole alliance. Now, interestingly, the only time that Article 5 has ever been tabled was after 9/11, the terrorist attack on New York. And I'm not sure that I've ever heard anybody in the current administration mention that, because, of course, we all then, loyally followed the orders, and we all fought America's wars for her for the next 10 to 15 years and spent a lot of money doing it. I mean, I think, the UK alone spent some 35 billion. So the big question for all of us is, does Article 5 still apply? And, if it doesn't apply, and if you haven't got that US security guarantee, which is so important to NATO, then it does beg questions about NATO's strength in the short term.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit of a long vid, but it's 5 minutes, 48 seconds. There's a lot of meat to it. A lot of things I'm going to check out as well after this vid. Yeah, it's coming, man. There's a couple of articles as well I want to read. Salakia, man, you got to be patient. And I do, and in Salakia for my ranting as well, because I'm just excited as well, and I'm elated, and the passions, it's just happiness, and you're pissed off that we're in this condition, but you're happy that it's going to be over soon, because man, let's go, man, let's go.
Now, there is no reason to suppose that if Europe gets its act together over the course of the next, 5 years probably, but maybe as much as 10, then the European economy is, nearly as big as the American economy.
Hey, listen, one more thing as well. I don't want Ratazar. We're not here that long, all right? And I don't believe Yahweh Shemer Shai will keep us here that long, another 5-10 years. I don't think so, man. All right? I don't think so. That's me personally speaking as a man, all right? As an Israelite man, I wouldn't say so. All right. I don't want Ratazar. Man. I hate to say the number 3 years. I'm saying Lord willing. 2, hopefully, man, we could be home next year, man, Lord willing. I don't want Ratazar. If it's the Lord's will, of course. All right. Because we're going to... Shit, we should be dead, man. Because I can feel sometimes, man, the angels pulling out poisons out of the body, man. Because I don't know what the hell we eat. Whether it's real chicken or real eggs. Man, it feels that way sometimes. But, that's where prayer comes in. Anyway, let's go.
There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to afford this. Difficult choices will have to be made, but it should be possible.
But what if there is a test before then, before Europe is ready?
And that is a really interesting question. And of course, what none of us know, because we are not inside President Trump's mind on this, is whether he would still provide
not inside President Trump's mind. Well, it's an empty mind, but the Lord is controlling him to do and say whatever he's going to do.
The support that we would expect of the United States, and we can't know the answer to that.
Trump is
but the
Nero,
reality,
as
of
the
course,
elder
is if the United States is not there for us, the support that we would expect of the United States, and we can't know the answer to that. But the reality, of course, is if the United States is not there for us, then it's a very challenging position for Europe to find itself in.
What about Ukraine?
And Ukraine as well. I mean, we all know that we've struggled to find the wherewithal to be able to support Ukraine without the United States' support. I mean, of course, when you fact check some of the comments about the amount of money that's being spent, Europe has, of course, spent, around 135 billion euros, where the United States has probably only spent about 110 billion euros up until March this year. So the answer is that Europe's got the money there, but of course, European defence industry doesn't have the resilience that the US defence industry has, and therefore it would be challenging in the short term for Europe to be able to provide what the United States has provided to Ukraine.
How would you characterise the current state of the British armed forces?
I mean, I think the important question one always has to ask oneself is what you want them to do. If you think about that, then, in certain circumstances, they are perfectly capable of doing what you require of them. We also need to remember that they would fight alongside NATO allies, which, of course, brings with it a whole load of a scale that, is much harder for you to...
He's basically saying he didn't answer the question. Okay, he rolled that one. She said, "What do you think of the current condition of the UK's armed forces?" Basically, he wants to speak in frankly, honestly, transparently, but he basically wants to say they're a bunch of pussies and a bunch of faggots, really, if you think about it. All right, but he's saying that okay, but they're going to have the support system of the NATO's armed forces, and he's going to say, can they do what you want them to do? And he goes, they're perfectly capable, but then he goes, and they're going to fight with NATO or with allies as well. So they're going to have the support system of tougher people. It's like having your big brother with you, or like you get into a fight on the playground, right? You're gonna have a 1-to-1, but then your friend jumps in with you who's bigger, I mean, if that's an analogy that works.
But see, purely from a national perspective, but in certain circumstances, they are perfectly capable of doing what you require of them. We also need to remember that they would fight alongside NATO allies, which of course brings with it a whole load of a scale that is much harder for you to conceive purely from a national perspective. No, I mean, but the fact of the matter is, going back to the conversation about defence expenditure, more money needs to be spent to modernise our armed forces, to make sure they've got the capabilities that we're learning are necessary from some of the wars that we've been observing over the last 3 or 4 years. And I think there will always be questions about whether they're large enough, both in terms of the number of platforms the Navy and the Air Force have, but also the number of soldiers that the British Army have. I think it's important to consider how the nation as a whole, as we've seen demonstrated very much in Ukraine, gets behind the effort. So I think there are some really interesting questions about national resilience, which need to become a matter, I'd have thought, of public debate, which should be good to have. And with that, the whole idea of reserves and how reserves play into the big question are necessary as well. And I think you could see people constructing a British military that works from what its mobilised organisation and strength might look like back to where we are today, which would be an interesting question. And one, of course, that our forebears very much understood in 1914, then, of course, in 1939-40.
What about compulsory military service?
Again, I think
Finally got to that question.
Let's be careful about this because if you're a frontline state in NATO like Finland or Sweden or the Baltic states, you've got something you can get conscripts to do on a daily basis. Now, we could do that when we had national service up until the late 50s because we had an empire to police and there was something to send conscripts to go and do. It would be harder for us now to employ them on a daily basis. Now, what I think for us is probably a better model is to avail ourselves of the 150 to 200,000 retired regular military who have a statutory liability to be available to be mobilised. Now, I think you could, to use the military term, operationalise that much better than we do at the moment. Indeed, in the way that we used to in the Cold War. You've got to be my age probably to remember that. And I think that's probably a better way of thinking about it. But what I do think is that some form of national citizen service would be good. Because I think trying to build that sense of national resilience But how you use the people who do that service, I think you wouldn't depend upon the military for that. I think you'd find another mechanism for doing it.
Well, in short terms, yes. Okay, they're just going to go. They're trying to just. They're going to bring in national service and resilience. So they're trying to add some pride. Let me see what you said. Add some pride. Add pride to it. I'm talking about pride, like in your country, national resilience, and because what Esau likes to do is go play, beat around the bush and not answer the question directly. All right. In short words, right? Yes, they're going to bring back conscription.
I think that some form of national citizen service would be good.
There you go. Some form of national citizen service would be good. All right. Now, they might entice you with better money. A lot of unemployed out there. And a lot of people will join because a lot of people aren't clued up on geopolitics and what's going on around the world. And a lot of people are going to join it and think, I'm going to travel the world or whatever. Or even if they assume that. And, and also a lot of people want to fight for their country. And a lot of people, they might even double the wages. People that are unemployed and say, you know what, I ain't doing nothing right now. I need the money. I've got to take care of my mother. She's old. I've got to take care of, my brothers and sisters, or I've got to take care of my wife and children. And people will just join. And some people will be forced to join, as well. Which really, if you think about it, is not, they're going to really join. They're going to go to die there because, if you've seen the movie Gladiator, when Russell Crowe is in the queue to go out and fight in the Colosseum, you had people over there. You had a couple of guys that were, crying, and they were scared. They were scared to go out to fight, and that obviously is like a cancer, and that spreads amongst the men in your team or in your unit or your platoon, right? And from an army perspective, now if that happens, everybody's going to be fucking scared. And what's going to happen? You're going to go out there, your army, you're going to freeze, okay? Because you either fight, flee, or freeze, right? Even in a street combat situation. Now, if you freeze and your arms don't, all that training you did don't, because it's a mindset as well. You can have all the training in the world. If you have Bashim Shine with you, I mean, okay, let's talk it from a heathen's perspective. Okay, if all that training you did, if you freeze, you don't have the right mentality for it, what's going to happen? You're going to get your backside handed to you. You're going to die. All right. The same in an army situation in wartime. You got to either fight or flee. And where are you going to flee to? So you're going to have. Okay, so even if you flee and if you freeze, you're going to die. If you flee, you're going to get chased down, all right, at some point, unless you fight along while you're fleeing. That's a different situation. But if you just flee, I'm scared, I don't want to fight, you're going to get a bullet in the back, right? So you got to have the right mentality as well. And a lot of these youngsters now, right, Gen Z especially, right, don't have the right mentality. And if they get Edomites that are maybe 35, 36, 37, they should be a little bit more tougher than the 18 to 20-year-olds right now. All right. So they're going to bring that conscription back in, man. Conscription and national service in the UK. This is 28th of March, 2025 from the House's UK Parliament House of Commons Library. Conscription is a draft. Okay, draft was there was draft during the World War I, World War II. All right, there was peacetime conscription or draft because due to conscription, which is like national service, you have to do 2 years. And what national service did was make men tougher. They went through basic training, hand-to-hand combat. Gave them an example would be if you train. If you train in martial arts or if you train in boxing or whatever you do some kind of training in dealing with things head on, when things really do pop off, you're ready to deal with it. You're somewhat warmed up, So if you've done a couple of years of martial arts or boxing or whatever, and you work out, you're pretty much ready for a situation if you get into it in the street, all right? Because it could be quite daunting for someone who's slightly soft and never been into a hand-to-hand combat situation. All right. So hence the reason why they had the national service, which is at least 2 years, to make you a little bit more harder, so to speak. Now that has been taken out now, and with the current state of the world, a lot of these men are soft. All right, but this draft is going to come back, man. That's a lot of people are going to die over there. But Esau don't care. He wants to reduce the world population anyway. He wants to reduce it to 500 billion. So this is ideal. This way, he's going to think that, okay, with everybody so pussified and everybody's just going to go in there to die, it's going to be easy. Therefore, we can reach our new world order quicker. The war won't last that long. People will die quicker because they don't want to fight anyway. That's what they're probably thinking. But, what is that article here? Here we go. YouGov. All right. YouGov.co.uk. More than a third of under 40s would refuse the draft or conscription in the event of a world war. What's this article from? This is from January the 26th, 2024. It's only 18 months old, so it's right, in the arena that we're in right now of recent activity. This figure is higher than the number who say they would either volunteer or accept conscription. Although if the British mainland were under threat, more would be willing to fight. Now, forget all this. Now, the results of a new YouGov survey show that 38% of under 40s, that's damn near 50%, close to halfway, right? Definitely more than a third, right? Now, the results of a new government survey show that 38% of under 40s say they would refuse to serve in the armed forces in the event of a new world war. And 30% say they would not serve even if Britain was facing imminent invasion. All right? Let me read that again. Now, the results of a new government survey show that 38% of under 40s say they would refuse to serve in the armed forces in the event of a new world war. And 30% say they would not serve even if Britain was facing imminent invasion. So if people are coming, they're entering they're entering your airspace, they're entering your land. People still don't want to fight. They don't give a shit. They say, man, fuck that. 38% they would refuse to join the army in the event of a new world war, and then also another 30%, and also 30% would not serve even if Britain was facing imminent invasion. The 18 to 40 imminent invasion. The 18 to 40 age range is similar to that which the British government initially used for draft or conscription in both the First and Second World Wars. All right, conscription is just a term is used over here. Draft is used in America. Okay, here's a little nice nice little graph. How many Britons would be willing to serve in the armed forces how many Britons would be willing to serve in the armed forces if a new world war broke out? I mean, the women ain't going to be no good there anyway. The only thing that women are going to provide in the armed forces is going to be relief for the men. Tension relief. A lot of them are going to get raped. Let's be real, man. All right? That Black Widow shit. Well, who's that character? Black Widow? Who does all the martial arts? That cute blonde thing? Fine blonde thing, whatever her name is. That's what you women bugged out, man. Thinking that you can fight like that. You cannot fight like that. Anyway. Let's go to America. If World War III erupts, these are the first US citizens to get drafted. Let's go to scripture first, man. Jeremiah 30:5. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yashai, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Okay? And there's going to be a lot of you heathens and you 2/3 Jakes that are going to be drafted into or conscripted into the army. Verse 6, ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. All right? That's how it's going to be, man. When they come knocking on your door. Mr. So-and-so, you have been asked to join the army. Come with us. You don't have to bring anything with you. Put your shoes on and your jacket on or whatever. Come with us. They'll have a van there, and your friend from around from the down the road will be on there as well. A lot of you Edomites are going to be taken, and a lot of you 2/3 Jakes are going to be taken as well, man. You like to talk about chinging, splashing, shooting, bucking, booting, whatever. I'm using UK slang, what they use in that grime music, which is all about deleting each other. It says Jake murdering Jake. That's what it's all about. You like to stab with Rambo knives. You like to talk about having a Rambo knife and having a gun and all that. Hey, man, join the army. All right, join the army. At least if you are going to delete somebody, at least delete the heathen. They're going to come for you, Jakes. You tough man out there. You man then. They're going to come for you. All right, and you real ninjas in America too. All right. Let's see what's happening here. The U.S., if the World War III erupts, these are the first U.S. citizens to get drafted. From this month. Greg Heilman, probably a small hatter with a name like that. Possibly. Maybe it's German. June the 18th, 2025. All right. It's from a few days ago. The Israel-Iran conflict is the Amalekite and Elamite conflict is quickly escalating, and the U.S., the Edomite nation, and Donald Trump, Nero, appear to be getting involved in the Middle East or West Asia conflict. An escalation between the U.S. and either Moab, which is China, or Russia, which is Edomites again, could lead to military conflict, either with China trying to retake Taiwan by force or a direct clash between NATO and Russia. 65 and 69% respectively of respondents to the Atlantic Council's Scowcroft Center for Strategy and Security 2025 Global Foresight Survey somewhat or strongly agreed that these scenarios could come to pass within the next decade. Lord willing sooner, man. They like to give these far off dates, don't they? Like Esau knows a timeline. Oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do, and get the fuck out of here, man. Your mind is controlled. Whatever you're saying, all right, the Lord is making you say it. It's ultimately testing the faith of the elect as well. You can come out with saying 1,000 years. We don't believe that. We know that Yahweh Shemeshai is going to pull us out of this hell very soon. All right. This is just to increase our faith. More than 40% of those surveyed expected there to be a global conflict on multiple fronts among the great powers. Of those predicting World War III, nearly two-thirds, all right, expected nuclear weapons to be used. 2 out of 3 of them foresee such a conflict playing out in space as well. That's where that Space Force comes in, because they know they're going to be invaded. That's why Esau got a Space Force. All right? If a conflict's going to be happening in space, just a space alone, there's going to be some kind of element coming out of space, right? All right? So they got rockets in space as well, so to shoot all the way down. I'm not too clued up on their weaponry like that, but we have a somewhat of an inkling and an idea what they have. If that were to come to pass, the US may need to call on more of its citizens to fight than currently serve in the various branches of the US Armed Forces. The US hasn't had a draft since January 1973, but the nation's men are required by law to be registered for selective service in the event of a national emergency. those who the United States would draft first if there were a war. Nearly all male US citizens and male immigrants. All right? All right? Well, they pumped out most of Jake anyway, the Northern Kingdom out of America. Nearly all male US citizens and male immigrants. All right? So you South African Edomites are going to America. You're going to be required to fight as well, devil. So you better enjoy your Teslas, your free Teslas, and your free money right now. You're going to be used too. All you Edomites too, man. You computer programmers and all that, you're going to be used too. All right? And all you heathens and all you Edomites and all you 2/3 Jakes. Nearly all male US citizens and male immigrants, regardless of immigration status, are required under federal law to register for selective service within 30 days of turning age 18. Late registrations are allowed until a man reaches his 26th birthday, but failure to do so is considered a felony and can result in penalties. The selective service website says that these include a $250,000 fine and 5 years imprisonment. All right. Ineligible for state-based student loans and grant programs in 31 states. Ineligible for federal job training under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, formerly Workforce Investment Act. Ineligible for federal and many state local jobs. Up to 5-year delay of U.S. citizenship proceeding for immigrants. Shit. 5-year delay. So it's coming, man. They're letting you know that it's coming. They're letting you know that it has to be done by law. If a war breaks out, you have to be. If you're asked, you got to join. All right. And once war breaks out, and they give you a little bit of time, saying, okay, yeah, you got 30 days to join or whatever. They're going to give you that time. And if you don't join within a specific period of time, that grace period that these Edomites give you, they're going to be knocking on your door. All right. Then you're going to be holding onto your loins. You're going to be crying like a woman in travail, man. All right, all you bodybuilders, all you tough man, then, all you martial artists, that are tough in the dojo, but in the real world, you're gonna be crying like a bitch. That's why the men of the Lord, the elect of Yahweh Hashem Yashai, are going to be protected in these last days. All right, that's why you're going through what you're going through, to build up your faith. All right, build up your faith. Let me see if I can. This is going to lead to that lake of fire, man, when America is completely on fire. Let's go to that scripture. My sword shall be bathed in heaven. My sword shall be bathed in heaven, King James Version. Let's finish off with a nuclear weapon scripture. Isaiah 34:5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. All right, that's when the nukes are launched. They go up into the sky, into the heavens, right? How far the Lord allows it to go, right? And then it goes up, and then with great force, it comes down, right? The same way you chuck a brick from, let's just say 3 feet, and it hits the floor. Okay, there's a bit of damage, right, or whatever, right? But now if you get that same brick and you let it loose, or you let go of it from, say, the 25th floor of a building, doesn't it have greater impact? So how much more a nuclear weapon, man, and 200 million warheads at that. So Isaiah 34:5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, the so-called white man, heathen nations too, but we're focused on Idumea because this is their world. All right, the so-called white man. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, Edomites, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. All right? That's what it's going to lead to. Okay? That's what it's going to lead to. That's what it's going to lead to. Let's go to 1 hour judgment. 1 hour judgment, Babylon, King James Version. Revelation 18 and 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. All right? I should have got the Valley of Yehoshaphat, Salakia. Let's get that one as well. Valley of Jehoshaphat. They shall gather in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, King James Version. Here we go. Joel 3 and 2. I will also gather all nations. This is World War III. All right, they're going to be gathered for the most part all around the world, but as a clunk, in the so-called Middle East. That's where the major battle is going to take place. But there's going to be invasions in all the major strongholds of the so-called white man. But the Middle East, so-called Middle East, West Asia is where is going to be a fair amount of activity. Joel 3 and 2. I will also gather all nations, World War III, all nations. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat. In Hebrew, it will be Yahweh Shaphat, meaning the Most High's judgment, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. All right, let's go Joel 3 and 2 NLT. Joel 3 and 2 NLT. I will gather the armies of the world into the valley of the Most High's judgment. There I will judge them for harming my people, my special possession, for scattering my people among the nations, and for dividing up my land. Romans 12:19. Is it Romans 12:19? Let's go there. Romans 12:19, King James Version. Yes. And the Lord's gonna, defend us, man. Give us a spirit to fight as well, but also the Lord said, wait upon me. Didn't the Lord say, wait upon me? Romans 12:19. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. It's coming. World War III is coming. The draft or conscription is coming. And they're letting you know, little by little, trickle by trickle, they're letting you know. All right? Until it actually happens, which is around the corner. All right? All praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Mawatha Bad Babal, Kwam Yashrala. Shalom.